So, last year I created the video HPK's Guide to Chromatic Scales, which was the beginning of my tutorial series. First of all, I want to take a minute to thank you guys for the overwhelmingly positive feedback that I've gotten on making these videos, and I'm glad that I'm able to help you guys as much as I am. However, a comment that I've received a lot on the original Chromatic tutorial video was people requesting me to make a separate tutorial on sampling chromatics. Now, initially, I didn't really think I needed to because I felt at the time that I pretty much explained everything I needed to explain in the video. However, like I mentioned earlier, that video is a year old now, and looking back at the examples I gave, yeah, I can do way better. So think of this as HPK's Guide to Chromatic Scales Part 2, the remix. This video is going to be specifically about sampling chromatics and the different methods that you can use to do so. If you're looking to use a certain method, here are the time codes up on the screen so you can skip to whichever one you want. Firstly, let's get into sample extension using FL Studio. First, let's bring in our sample source. Like I mentioned in the previous tutorial video, it helps out immensely if the character that you're sampling is already singing. So for this example, I'm going to sample Garnet from Steven Universe using the acapella from the song True Kinda Love. Go through your sample source and pick out any vowels you can find.
Oh, I get on.
Once you have them chopped up, right-click on them and make all of them unique. Make sure to rename these as well so you know what's what. Then, for all of your samples, click on the top left corner and go to Channel Settings. In the Time Stretching section, change the mode from Resample to E2 Speech. You'll see why we're doing this in a second. Make sure you have stretching turned on, and then you can drag out your sample to your desired length. And as you can hear, your sample is now cleanly stretched out. If we didn't change the sampling mode earlier and just kept it at resample, if you stretched it out, it would have just repitched the audio. Then to simply redo this process for all of your samples until they're all the length you want. Then you can get into chromatic arrangement from here. Since we have all of our samples named, you can arrange them however you want, but for the sake of the tutorial, I'm just going to repeat the pattern. You remember how in the last tutorial I mentioned that when you're doing this, you need to export the chromatic untuned? Turns out you don't have to do that. Right-click on your track, scroll down to consolidate this track, and choose Full Song. And after you click OK, you can see that your untuned chromatic is now one continuous audio file, and you didn't have to export a whole new file. Now, I know for a lot of FL Studio users that this feels like a kind of no shit kind of thing to say, but I was new to FL Studio at the time, and admittedly, I still kind of am, so just bear with me. Anyway, from here you can get into tuning your chromatic with Newtown. Then, after you're done, send it to the channel rack. Now, from here, you can either export your chromatic, or you can go to the channel settings, right-click, and open a new SliceX channel. But there's one extra step that I would like to do first. When you look at the chromatic's waveform, sometimes you may notice that some of the waveforms are a lot thinner than others. Now, I don't know why it does this, but for Newtone, when you're tuning, the higher the note gets, the quieter it gets, and that can be really irritating. So, let's level this out a bit. A while back, SugarMoon, who composed Sacrifice, did a tutorial on her Twitter about how to make chromatics, and in it, she also showed how she levelizes voice clips, that being Fruity Parametric EQ2, OTT, and Fruity Multiband Compressor. Pause to copy these settings if you need to. And if you want this patch to use for yourself, I'll leave a link to it in the description. Once again, shout out to SugarMoon. Now all that's left to do is export your chromatic, put it into SliceX, slice it up, and there you go. Now, let's get into looping samples. This one is a little bit more tricky. Once again, let's bring in our sample source. Then we'll click at the top left and go to Edit Sample. This will open up your audio in Edison. Once again, go to the file and find any vowel sounds you want. Let's take this O sound here.
Oh, oh.
So what you're going to want to do is highlight a little portion of that sample. Then right-click, go to Tools, and Tune Loop. You'll need to adjust the crossfade settings in order to get a more cleaner sound. Then, after you have it set, once again, right-click, go to Tools, and send to Playlist as Audio Clip. This next part is optional, but it can serve to make your chromatic sound more unique. Right-click on your sample and go to Channel Settings. Right-click on the sample and go to Open a New Sampler Channel. Here, you'll be able to access the envelope settings. Go to Pitch, and then in the LFO settings, change the amount to about 5% and the speed to about 15. Now your sample has some vibrato to it. Then, you simply just repeat this for all your other samples, arrange the chromatic, tune it, put it into SliceX, and there you go. Now on to our last method, which is the easiest of the three, sample extension and Melodyne. Once again, bring in your sample source, and then find the notes you want. It helps out a lot if the notes that you pick are all within the same range. Then simply grab them, and then extend them. Then from here, you can just do a bit of copy and pasting and then tune your chromatic that way. And there you have it.
Oh.
I hate you.